And welcome back to Meeting of the Minds. Happy Friday, everyone. TGIF, as they say. Mark, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to Meeting of the Minds. So what could you share with us? How do we get better? How do we get stronger?
Consistency. I think consistency is the key. Showing up day in and day out. That's what I mean. Whether you're a wrestler or a runner or anything you want to do, even a business owner, you just gotta show up.
That's right. Show up and continue to show up, and then continue some more. It's great stuff. Talk about your journey a little bit. How did you get to where you're at now?
So, as far as like running and stuff, and like things like fitness wise or business, everything. The fitness wise, it started basically. I started running marathons by just doing one of those New Year's Eve things where you say, "I'm going to run a marathon this year." Everybody kind of giggled and laughed at me, and 18 marathons later, that's sort of what started me on just kind of running a lot. And then from there, I just kind of got the bug and wanted to do more. And I wound up raising a lot of money for the Semper Fi Fund, which led me to doing more ultra type style races and doing a lot of hill races, running up and down a lot of hills lately.
Man, so what's the strategy for running hills? Because I ran pretty flat my entire life. Now I'm in Washington Heights in New York City, basically the hood. They're 2 blocks from the hood, and it's called the Heights for a reason. You're always going up hills, and I feel like I'm so much worse of a runner. Maybe it's I don't know how to pace myself. I mean, it's definitely I'm just not in the shape I used to. What are some tips for running hills?
First, don't think about it as a hill. Don't look to the top. I always kind of just try to keep my vision on
right in front,
maybe 5 feet right in front of you. Going up, quick short steps instead of trying to take. I mean, unless you're like some people will say take strides, but that's like all practice. But if you're in a race or something, I like just kind of doing short, quick steps, and then sprint down.
Yeah.
And you kind of go with the hill. A lot of times, sometimes going up the hill, you see people leaning backwards a little bit for whatever reason, and that's just wasting energy. You want to kind of lean into the hill as you're going up.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's the mindset the whole time there, especially when you're doing distance like that? What are you telling yourself?
It's sort of just about, I never really think about how many laps I'm on or how many laps I have left to do. You kind of just stay present, stay focused on, I think about that every step I take up is one less step I'm going to have to take. Right. So if I'm doing a race like this one, you have to go up and down the hill 100 times. I don't show up to it thinking that I'm going to be doing 100 laps. It's sort of 10 sets of 10, right? And at the gym, everybody can do 10 reps. Everybody's doing 10 reps. You're just doing 10 rounds of it now. So mentally, it's just breaking that down into smaller components and not looking at it, the big picture can get intimidating. I mean, 100 of anything, 100 burpees, 100 squats, 100 can kind of be intimidating. So when you're thinking of 100 hill repeats, which is going to wind up being about 8 miles at this race, that can get intimidating. So you just break it down and think, and just chip away at it.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Then how do you train for it?
Very race specific. I find I have a hill here by my house that's, decent enough, and I just run up and down the same hill a lot. I'll mix it up. Like sometimes you do some speed work and everything like that. But I think, if the race is a hill race, you have to do hill repeats. If it's and you have to be out there for some sort of duration, whether if it's a marathon, you want to go run about 20, 22 miles before the race. At least I believe that, because you have to know mentally that you can make it to 20 miles. You have to know, like when I did this, I did a 100-mile race back in March. It was my first one ever. And I had to run 50 miles before going to that race, because I had to know mentally that I could at least make it halfway. So I did a training run of 50 miles. And I tried to find terrain that would kind of match the terrain of the race.
Yeah. So was that the furthest you ran up until that point? Before the 100 miles, it was the 50 miles.
Actually, last August, I did this race called Last Man Standing up in Maine, and I got to 84 miles in that race. So that was the longest race that I had done. But training-wise, yeah, I think 50 miles was the longest training run I did for either race.
Man, and then do you feel real sore after that, or during it, or right after?
No, just more tired. I have a pretty solid base from, like, I think in 2003 was the first marathon I ran. I've had 18 marathons under my belt and just a whole lot of running in there. So, and ultra running is a little different in the sense that or at least for me, because I am really new to this. I mean, the ultra running this is my second year, and this year everything's been canceled. So the pacing is different. So I've been more sore after running marathons than after that 100-mile race. Because in a marathon, you just really, for me, it was always like just push the pace as hard as you can go. And for this past 100-mile race, it was more, I know I can do a 100-mile race faster. Let's just say it that way. I crossed the finish line, and I still had a little more in my tank. And mentally during that race, I was holding back a little bit because I just didn't, because of that unknown. And I didn't just, you could say that I mentally failed a little bit during that race because I just didn't let myself go and trust my training. I held myself back sort of in the middle of that race a little bit to try to save energy.
Yeah, well, so it's one of those things where it's not so binary. It's like there's some things you had to be doing well in order to even make it. And then maybe there's other things that we're not doing as well. We're not optimizing, right? So that's probably the better way to look at it. But yeah, no, that's phenomenal. And what's the mentality like when you're competing against people, and I mean not getting sucked into their pace or thinking about them?
That comes with practice. Yeah, when I was younger, I'm 44 now. Younger, I would sometimes get sucked into the other person's race, and now I just let everybody go. I know I'm more comfortable in my own skin. I'm more comfortable in knowing what my strengths are. I know, and I trust myself a little bit more. So if somebody, if I'm doing a Spartan race and a bunch of people tear off, and if it's a Spartan beats like 13 miles and people tear off for that first 4 miles or so, I let them go because I have confidence that I'm gonna catch up to them. They're gonna come back to me, one or the other. So you just can't. You have to run your own race. You have to trust your training. You don't know how those other people train. Maybe they trained that way. You stick to your training, and usually in the end, it'll work out.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I wasn't any kind of a competitive runner. I ran a lot because of wrestling, so you have to make weight, right? So I guess that's kind of like a JV track letter or something like that. Not really, but and I remember the first competitive race I ran was with my wrestling team. I was a sophomore at Rutgers University, and my fastest mile time up until that point was 5:22, and I ran my first mile 5:27 because I was just following the crowd. And I mean, the last 2 miles, it was like finishing basically on pure heart, which is ridiculous because I could have comfortably done it at a much better. I could have probably ran a better time and enjoyed it a lot more. But yeah, it's getting sucked into what was going on around me.
Yep. Yeah, you just that happened like for some reason last year, or maybe the year before, I can't remember, but in Chicago at a Spartan race, and I just was so wound up at the starting line, and I let the whole thing just suck me in, and it was one of the worst races of my life. I did not practice what I try to preach.
Yeah. Well, I guess sometimes those are the lessons that we need to learn It was funny.
Yep.
One of the guys on my team, I knew I was a better runner than him because we'd run with the team all the time, and he took off immediately. He came out of the blocks like basically the lead of the entire race. People were far better runners than us, and then he wound up tanking like almost immediately. And at the end of the race, and I'm like, what the heck? I was kind of pacing, using him to pace, and he's like, well, I know they just take the picture in the beginning of the race, and the photographers get out. And I was just shaking my head. I was like, no way. He was on the picture next year for the advertisement because he
Was he? That's all right.
But that's the wrong mentality.
That's funny though. That's cool.
Man, so how does that translate to success in business, in life? Because all the stuff, these are just life lessons, really.
Yeah. Well, even take right now, like we own a gym. I own a gym, and in New Jersey, and like we're not allowed to be open yet. I mean, I guess next Friday we can start personal training. But I still show up every morning. Like since this whole thing started, waking up, to go to work. I'll wake up at 10 after 4 and get there. And through this whole thing, it's just the consistency of staying in the game. And so whether I'm running or for business, like I'm waking up early. What you saw, I've gone doing a couple workouts with the and stuff like that. So it's worth. I think all of this, all my training, it's helped business-wise to help stay consistent. Life is going to punch you, right? And you just got to get back up. And not every training run goes well. Not every day in business is great.
Yeah, that makes sense. What happened to that gym in Bellmauer, the one by Philly? Remember there was that whole big thing they're opening up, and what was the story with that? What was the outcome?
I think there's some lawsuits going on. I think something happened this week in court. I think the guy who owns the gym may have lost that, but he's appealing. I don't know. It's kind of like when I don't really worry too much about everybody else. Yeah, like at a race, if I do my thing, it's going to be well. But I think I heard that so a lot of gyms are like pulling all their equipment out, bringing it into the parking lots, and then they're doing things out in the parking lot and everything. So I'm not really 100% sure what's going on with that.
Yeah, I barely watched the news myself. It was just that was something that popped in my head. I was like, yeah, wasn't there a gym that opened and there was a whole thing?
Yeah, there was a couple that were trying to defy the order. I think there was some guy who ran 60 miles down to Trenton to prove a point that gyms should be open. So a lot of people have been trying different things. Telling governor to open up, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, like you said, you got to just really focus on yourself. Like I said, I barely watch the news or read the news or anything, and my parents get aggravated with me. If if you're Italian or you have Italian American friends, you don't have to look for advice. Advice finds you. So I'm still hearing it from my parents. I'm gonna turn 36 next week or 2 weeks, whatever it is, and I'm still hearing it from them, like, oh, you got to watch the news. I'm like, it's all negative. I got a lot of stuff I'm trying to do here.
Yeah, we've stayed off the news. I actually have stayed off social media until pretty much like yesterday and today for like last 10 or I just couldn't. I had to take a break from it for a little while.
Yeah, it's important. Did you ever see that? I'm sure you probably have the documentary. It's an older one, Running on the Sun.
Running on the Sun. No.
So it's it's like an ultra marathon in Death Valley, and it's like over 100 miles. You're going up the mountain, but it's called Running on the Sun. And it's a crazy thing. And I mean, everyone who runs, they have to have like a team of like people that, they have vans, they'll stop. Like it's just this, several day process or whatever it is, however long it takes. But Running on the Sun, it was a good one. But that actually sparked me to think about something to help my wrestlers. They showed the guys in the beginning of the documentary preparing and what they were saying, what their thoughts were. They followed these people along, and the one guy's like, I know I can't run this distance, but I do think it's possible to create someone who can. And I was like, yeah. So we start, and then I thought about UFC fighters. They kind of have like an alter ego or a nickname, like John Bones Jones, Notorious Conor McGregor, Chuck the Iceman Liddell. And like they all kind of have that alter ego. We're not talking about any kind of like new age spiritual weird stuff like that, but just like when I compete, I step into this character kind of like that. And so taking that from the ultra marathon runners, I've applied that to wrestling and other sports. So we can learn from everyone.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, we'll have to watch that. Maybe we'll watch it tonight.
Yeah, no, it's a good one, Running on the Sun. But it's just funny because like he's like, I know I can't do it. Like it's like the opposite of what you think. You think these personalities would be like, there's nothing in the world that's going to stop me. My heart's going to have to give out. He's like, I know I can't do this. But
I can create somebody who can.
But I believe I could create someone who can. He's like running in his basement, and he's got the dryer like blowing directly on him because he's trying to simulate the heat in Death Valley. And these guys, it's crazy. They remove their toenails because their toenails wind up stabbing them after a while. Yeah, they're just nuts.
Yeah, I haven't reached that point yet. Although I've lost a couple toenails.
Yeah, they said they were just more trouble than they were worth, so they just have them removed.
It's done. That's pretty funny. Very cool.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you have coming up, or what are your plans for of course, we don't know. Things are unexpected. What do you project for the future? What are things you're trying to do, things you're trying to accomplish, both with the business and personally?
But personally, a lot of, like everywhere, everything's gotten canceled. We do have a event coming up that we have to keep quiet for right now, just because of everything. It's going to be a small thing, but another mountain will be involved, and as soon as I know if we can talk about it or not, then I'll talk about it. But that's coming up, and then the one event that I did last year, that Last Man Standing, that's in Maine, and that hasn't been canceled yet. So my wife and I, we may go up there with some friends and run that race again, and as long as it doesn't get canceled. I think that's Labor Day weekend. But after that, for the rest of the year, we don't have anything race-wise going on. And then business-wise, it's just try to survive.
Yeah.
Next Friday, personal training is allowed to start, so we'll be back doing that and just kind of stay in the game, right? And stay in the game, show up, and just it's hard to make decisions when you're waiting on other people to, if I knew exactly what the answers were going to be, it would be easy, but we're sitting here waiting for other people to, which is a whole other subject. So I don't want to get into that, but it drives me nuts.
Just controlling what you can control.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And it's a lesson for whether you're running ultra marathons, wrestling, doesn't really make a difference. Business, life, relationships, being in it for the long haul. I tell everyone always it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Life, marriage, whatever it is, it's just, keeping that right mindset always. Well, how do we send more people your way? Website, social media pages, and how do they find out about the big release that you can't bring up right now?
Just my Instagram channel, Mark Neilan, Facebook, and then the business is Excel Fitness Center, with website, and the emails on the website, or you can DM me through that. I have to tell you this though. I went to one of the biggest wrestling high schools in the country. I don't know. I went to Blair Academy. Huge wrestling school. One of my biggest regrets is I never once stepped on the mat there. When I was in high school, it was all baseball, and I didn't have the same mentality I had now. And I think I graduated with I think you know him, John Leonardis.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So John and I grew up in Blairstown together, and he's coaching at RU at Rutgers now. And I just
he was my brother's coach.
He was your brother's coach? Okay.
My brother, yeah.
Yeah, I told him I was going to be on this, and I didn't know if it was you he coached or if it was your brother, or but yeah, like, so here I was at like one of the meccas of wrestling, and I wasn't the same person that took the trigger on that. But
that's awesome. Just being around those people, and again, being around people that are at a high level, or that are trying to operate at a high level, it goes such a long way. You see how that carries over to life. So that's great stuff. Awesome, Mark. Great stuff.
Thank you.
Keep sending people your way. God bless you. Do it. Keep it up. Great work. We appreciate having you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.